I'm here with State Farm Technology Research Director Chris Mullen, and we're going to talk about the impacts of tropical storms and hurricanes, not only on the coast, but well inland. Trust me, they don't just stop at the coast. We wish they did, Chris, but they don't do that. Here's an example of a community. It's game day, all right? The winds are picking up, the wave action's picking up, and soon we're going to be right in the middle of this thing.
That's right. So let's fast forward, accelerate time, and play this out as the eye wall and the storm arrive. The surge is the greatest threat to life and property. From a hurricane, there's your damage. So this is why when authorities announce an evacuation, leave. Get out while you can. Don't wait, because fire and EMS crews could have a difficult, if not impossible, time getting to you.
And look at the water pushing that house up against another one, or floating it either way. You know, you've got wave action on top of all this water that's rising. It's a tremendous, tremendous force. And if you don't evacuate, like you said, you're going to find yourself right in the middle of this.
Very dangerous.
Surge oftentimes can come well inland, as much as 30 miles. And speaking of going well inland, let's fast forward 24 hours.
Let's
go. And talk about these storms once they get inland, because we wish they ended, but they don't do that.
They don't. So here we are inland, small town surrounded by hills. It's still pretty windy here.
Beautiful. Some of the most beautiful water, some of the most beautiful sand you've ever seen in your life in the Turks and Caicos. They potentially will take the eye wall right over the island, okay? And the fact that it is so shallow here and the way that it sets up on the east side of the Turks and Caicos, in other words, this shallow shelf, you're just going to pile up the water. So 15 to 20 feet possible. The airport at Provinciales is 15 feet above sea level, and we're forecasting 15 to 20 feet. So it is not inconceivable that we will see washover on the entire island. This big island here is Inagua. If you're a bird lover, you know that there's almost 100,000 flamingos down here on this island. Beautiful place to go look at these flamingos. And then you've got Crooked Island and then Long Island here in the southern Bahamas that could take it. After that, the models start to vary a little bit in what they do, okay? That's where we start to get into where this thing goes. And I didn't want to really show too much beyond that. But certainly any turn, an early turn on the east side of the cone brings this over the Bahamas. Either way, if you're in South Florida, be preparing for a major hurricane landfall.
The Lab is brought to you by State Farm. There for when things go wrong, but also here to help life go right.
is just a total devastation.
This will affect the entire peninsula of Florida to one degree or the other.
It hasn't even come and you want it to be over.
We want to have a look at your big picture forecast, and it is all things tropics for us. We are watching Hurricane Katia, Hurricane Irma, and Hurricane Jose. Yes, I did say 3 hurricanes. It is the first time we've had 3 hurricanes active in the Atlantic Basin in nearly 7 years. The world, of course, is watching Irma. This is a beast. It is a monster. It has caused essentially 100% worth of damage here into some of the islands, and it's going to continue on its westward path. It's actually moving west-northwest right now. Will Hurricane Jose come and impact Florida in 10 days?
Oh, God.
That is also something we're looking at. But first, let's focus on this beast.
You know what's really interesting is yesterday we saw the structural damage from wind.
Yes.
Okay. I think as we go through tonight, especially later on this afternoon tonight, it is the water in the Turks and Caicos. 15 to 20-foot surge is going to put most of those islands underwater.
That it will.
Okay.
So we do have surge, we have winds, by the way, we have rain, and the tornadic threat will also kick up as this nears Florida as well. Let's get you the very latest on Irma, and we do have satellite information for you. The winds at 180 miles per hour here. Hurricane hunters are on their way in to this storm. Can you believe a plane flies into that thing right there? Look at that. The hurricane force winds extend out from the center 50 miles in every direction, guys. Tropical storm force winds as well, just under 200 miles extending out from the center. So our pressure right now at 921 millibars, winds at 180. So the pressure's come up a little bit, the winds have come up a little bit, and right now moving west at 17 miles per hour. Will it continue that weakening trend? Because it's still an intense category 5. We just went from 185 to 180. Well, we have been at 180 plus mile per hour winds for 42 consecutive hours, just annihilating the old record of 18 hours in Hurricane Allen set back in 1980. Unfortunately, it looks like the winds are going to continue to be this strong. We could have the longest lasting category 5 in the Atlantic Basin. The record is 3 days. So far, we are 1 3/4 day. So here's a look at our hurricane force winds. They start at 74 miles an hour. Again, 50 miles out from the center. Tropical storm force winds extend out, about 175 from the center. So we do have hurricane warnings that are posted here for, all the islands, essentially. The Turks and Caicos is who we're most worried about, and then the Bahamas. The eye wall is the most dangerous part of the storm. That is just going to go, look at that, right over the islands there. This is going to be heartbreaking, and as Jim mentioned, it's not only the winds, but the surge. So surge depends on the storm size and the strength and how long it's been going. So if you have a big hurricane like this one, for days and days and days, it's just pumping out the waves. It's so big and so strong, it can do that. So we actually had to add 40 plus feet waves to our legend. Usually it just goes up to 30. We could see 40-foot waves. Remember, 10 feet is about the size of a one-story building. So quickly, we're going to show you this going through the Bahamas here as we head into our Friday. I do think in Florida, by Saturday, Jen, is when we're going to start to see some of the, clouds and showers, but Sunday will be the day.
Tropical storm force conditions, though, by Saturday, so urging folks to complete their preparations for Irma. Now, that means boarding up homes and businesses and stocking up on food and water and other essentials. People streaming out of South Florida finding themselves at a standstill on I-75 yesterday, and the rush to evacuate setting off panic for buying gas, leaving many pumps across Florida dry. Just saw a tweet from the Florida Highway Patrol that at the Turnpike gas stations, you were only allowed to fill up vehicles now, no gas cans, because they really want to expedite the situation right there and get cars moving again. All right, let's talk about Florida and the impacts, Jim. Expecting watches later today. Steph just mentioned the timing, tropical storm conditions by Saturday. Let's go beyond that.
Yeah, so and I was kind of surprised not to see him this morning, but we've slowed things down a little bit. So this gives us another, 6 to 12 hours to prepare. But regardless if that center comes ashore, okay, and I want to make myself perfectly clear, I want you in South Florida to prepare for a major hurricane landfall, okay? Because the reason I'm giving you that is because there's not enough information for me to say with confidence that it won't happen. Okay, there's more that say that it would right now. It's a slight edge. There's still a big spread, but it's enough so I need you to prepare for a major hurricane landfall. All right, so here we go, guys. Again, the hours here of this being a Cat 5 are just incredible. We're going to challenge Ivan and Alan here for longest hours at Cat 5. But notice again, just sitting south of the Keys on Sunday morning. All right, this is your takeaway from this. Just sitting south of the Keys is a 150 mile per hour strong Category 4 hurricane. I'm going to pause there. All right, and then regardless of which track it takes from that point on, we will figure that out. But I want you to get ready for those impacts. Here's the other thing, too. As this comes to the north and makes its way, off Florida or near Florida, it's going to bend back, we think, to the west. And that is going to bring a very deep, low, even though a weakening hurricane, a very deep low pressure system well inland. And you start to get a whole different world of tree canopy once you get off the lowlands of South and North Carolina and Georgia. All right, you got a lot of pine down there, a lot of softwood, and that is just going to cause a tremendous amount of tree damage as this thing gets whipped in. Granted, it will be a fraction of its former self, but deep low pressure, storms accelerating inland are problems. Here we are at Saturday, 10 p.m. We're going to start to feel those tropical storm force winds during the day on Saturday, as Jen just said, and by nightfall, it will be hurricane force winds, probably down there in the Keys. Steph, over to you.
And right now in Florida, we want to go to meteorologist Mike Seidel, who's joining us from Miami Beach. And Mike, I know that the mood down there is very tense. It's very anxious. What type of preparations have you seen? Just curious, are people putting up the shutters and the wood? You're not seeing any tape or anything like that, right?
I haven't seen any tape. We're in South Beach, so it's a lot of condos and restaurants and hotels. And we've seen the restaurants start to put their metal boards up and even some plywood, but they're still open for business. In fact, the hotels here will stay open for one more night and then clean everybody out here at South Beach on Friday. With that said, we were at the Home Depot yesterday. You can see what they were doing, buying batteries, generators if there are any left, plywood. I mean, all the essentials to prepare for a major hurricane here in South Florida. And the gas lines have been long. A lot of gas stations are out of gas. Meanwhile, the impacts. Here's the timing. Saturday, we start to see some tropical storm force winds and some of those outer bands. The brunt of the storm is Saturday night and Sunday. That's when we could see hurricane force wind gusts. It's all a function of where the center, where the eye is, and the eye wall. Hopefully, it'll stay off the coast, and we'll get wind gusts 60 or 70 miles an hour and not 100+ miles an hour. As far as rainfall, we're in the 8 to 12 inch category here in South Florida. Lower amounts up the coast, Steph, because this thing is going to start moving, finally getting picked up by the jet stream. Unlike Harvey, this is not going to be a prolific rainfall producer, but still with up to a foot of rain, there could be some inland flooding here in Miami-Dade and Broward counties. Stephanie?
All right, Mike, so we want to tell everyone when they're expected to start feeling the effects of this. And Jen, one other thing I want to mention, no candles, no tape and no candles. But if you do want to put water in your bathtub, which was an old thing for drinking water, you can use a bucket to put it in your toilet to flush your toilet. Little things like that might help some people.
They certainly might, because we are expecting power outages with this kind of situation. Let's talk about the timing. So here is the projected path. And again, we know today it's Turks and Caicos and then Southern Bahamas after that. And then, in terms of getting into the weekend, tropical storm force conditions start to spread into Florida. By Saturday, by Sunday, conditions are going downhill. This is a new product, the earliest expected arrival of tropical storm force conditions. And we're timing it out here. And you can see by Thursday, 8 o'clock, it's getting into the southern and central Bahamas and then getting up into South Florida by Saturday morning. Beyond that, we take it into Sunday, and Sunday will likely be the toughest weather day in Florida. All right, let's talk about specifics. Nassau, Bahamas, the track is really going to matter significantly for you, because if it takes a bit of an eastward jog, that will put you more squarely in the worst of the winds. In terms of the timing, though, from Saturday morning to Sunday morning, wind speed excess of hurricane force. Rainfall here will also be 12 to 18 inches, and storm surge will be a factor. Steph.
We want to talk about our evacuation zones here, and Jen, Jim, and I have retweeted each other a site that all you have to do is type in your address, and it shows you the evacuation zones. And by the way, I just tweeted a site that can show you where there's gas. If you zoom down into a map, it's phenomenal. So places like Broward County, there is an evacuation order for the areas east of Federal Highway, the Barrier Islands, low-lying areas, mobile homes. That goes in effect until at noon today. Miami-Dade, we have a mandatory evacuation order for mobile homes, residents of Zone A in the Barrier Islands. We're talking Bal Harbor, Bay Harbor, Island, Golden Beach, Indian Creek Village, Miami Beach, North Beach Village, Sunny Island Beach, and Surfside. So take these seriously and go to the websites that we have. Even if you're not on Twitter, just do Google Stephanie Abrams or any of our names, and you can see what's in our Twitter feed, and you can get the information that way. Hurricane watches, we're expecting those to go up. You want to have a plan in place, and then I also want, Jen, everyone to have a backup plan, the what ifs, so that everyone is organized. You know where your shoes are, things like that.
It's great advice. Now, as we talk about what's coming up with impact to travel across Florida, roads will be packed with cars evacuating. We've seen that already. What you need to know when it comes to leaving Florida as Irma approaches the Sunshine State.
Now is the time to review your evacuation route. Right now we have mandatory evacuations in the Keys. There are some areas in Miami-Dade. I know in Broward County is basically Federal Highway eastbound in those low-lying areas. And if you want to check in your area where it is, all you have to do is go to floridadisaster.org. Jen, Jim, and I have all retweeted each other to the exact link. You type in your address and it lets you know if you're in an evacuation zone. Also, if you're looking for gas Buddy. I'm about to post it on my Facebook page. I'll post it on Twitter as well. and it is reliable. Jen has used it before, has said it is reliable. Shows you down in your car.
On the turnpike, yes.
Okay.
So, you know, they're trying to keep traffic moving, too, and trying to keep the gas stations from getting plugged up. So the Florida Highway Patrol shared on Twitter this morning that, you know, at the turnpike gas stations, you will only be allowed to fill up your vehicle and not cans. Let's talk about travel today, because we know folks are heading north, whether it's 75 or 95. And as we take a look at the weather today, there is the chance for thunderstorms. So this is not related to the hurricane, but we do have a front coming in, which, by the way, is going to be one of the factors in steering where Irma ends up going. The front itself today will bring some scattered showers and storms, especially later this afternoon. We will see that down around central Florida, including around Tampa. If you're traveling 75, it's much more likely that you'll see the thunderstorms farther south than farther north. Should be dry conditions for you today from West Park and over to